The answer to those questions are no, I'm not, but there are talks of it possibly happening. There. Is that for Ty? Ty. There you go, Ty. Tyler. Sorry about that. Welcome to Idaho. We like starting the hour mid-sentence. People call in all the time and they ask Sophie all kinds of questions. And they have, just so you know, there's a small divider between us, but we're in the same room next to each other. All right? We can't touch each other, but we are within throwing distance of each other. We can throw stuff at each other with great accuracy. So if she's talking to somebody, there's a good chance I'm hearing it. Is this guy any good? It depends on the day, really. I mean, you never know. So let's get into it. Because minds, for the most part, aren't being changed here. If you're on Team Trump, if you're a MAGA Trump, if you're a MAGA hat wearing, bumper sticker having Trump supporter, if you were one yesterday, there's a good chance you're one today. And it doesn't matter what charges, what investigations are happening. Your mind isn't changed. If you hated Trump yesterday, there's a good chance you hate Trump today. See, the moderates, people who are characterized as moderates, aren't watching the news, aren't listening to talk radio. They're not listening to this station. They're not hardwired and freebasing news like you and I do on a regular basis. We mainline the headlines. We are doing 8 balls of every news story every day, every afternoon. That's what we do on a regular basis. You know, you have a regular bar that you go to all the time, or you got a regular restaurant that you go to all the time, or you have a regular coffee shop that you go to all the time. You know who the newbies are. Hey, what's this place about? It's a coffee shop. It says it right on the door. But there are people, just so you know, there are human beings, Americans even, who purposefully don't listen to talk radio because it's just so serious. It's just so depressing. It's just so angry. It's just so this. They're like, yeah, it's the news. It's going to tick you off. I don't need Trump for that, by the way. I got other things that are non-Trump related that could possibly tick you off. It's not my job to hold your hand and let you, everything's going to be fine and I have you. No, stuff's going on. It's real. You should know about it. I'd rather do caller number 6 and guess this song. I'd rather play, wait for somebody to honk the horn. And you know what? I'm not mad at those people for existing. I'm not. They go about life happy. Oh, so-and-so doesn't know whether it's okay for her to wear white at somebody else's wedding. We're taking calls. Let's have a great debate as to whether or not you should put the forks up or down in the dishwasher. I'm not saying which jock I know did that, but I'm not going home tonight. So the moderates are the ones who probably actually have no idea that Trump is being investigated right now because they're looking for a new soup recipe. And the issue I have with all of that is whether or not they feel any certain way about what's going on. Because you have to explain the entirety of a story to them. And my entirety is going to be different than your entirety, and so on and so forth. The entirety as to whether or not the moderate American believes that Trump is unduly in the crosshairs, unnecessarily being targeted, unjustly being targeted, is for moderates to decide. Because, again, if you're a MAGA hat-wearing Trump supporter, you love him no matter what. And if you hated Trump yesterday, you don't like Trump today. But when somebody is putting out, hey, we feel that Trump is this letter is proof that the government's being weaponized against Trump. The way he's going to get the presidency is not by making the MAGA Republicans more MAGA. It's by getting the moderates, the undecideds.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy decried a, quote, weaponized federal government after sources told ABC News former President Trump received a target letter from special counsel Jack Smith, indicating Trump could be indicted as part of the Justice Department's investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise echoed in his support of the former president.
Over and over again, you see different attacks by the Biden administration against President Trump.
Some Republicans say Trump's legal woes are boosting his poll numbers. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
For a limited time, Sweet Deals is offering qualified listeners an exciting vacation. Spend 4 days and 3 nights at a luxury hotel in fun and fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada for only $99. Save more than $600. As part of the package, you'll receive $100 in free slot play, a $100 dining advantage card, and each guest will be booked in a suite. You'll be vacationing in luxury that's only available in Vegas. Attendance is required at a presentation for Vacation Club ownership, but who cares? There's no purchase necessary, so it's a win-win. Plus, we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Do not miss this exclusive luxury vacation offer from SweetDeals.com. That's 3 nights in a luxury Las Vegas hotel for only $99. Go to SweetDeals.com right now and snag this once-in-a-lifetime offer. That's SweetDeals.com.
Mix a little sports analysis, pop culture, and great interviews, and you've got the Rich Eisen Show podcast.
Whenever I drive separately with Susie, you always have to go first. So sure enough, I pull into the garage. She's not even here yet, which allows me now the opportunity to stand there, just holding the door open, like the gentleman that I am. And I snapped a photograph of Susie's reaction, and there it is. How did you get here?
The Rich Eisen Show podcast, wherever you listen.
Joining us from Washington, D.C. right now, Congressman Russ Fulcher. Welcome in, sir.
Nate, good afternoon. Greetings from Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So how does the speaker, and I know you don't speak for the speaker, don't make me say that again, but how does the speaker expect to get those who aren't so stubborn to say, maybe this is a possibility? Maybe it's a possibility to actually have a real inward look at those who are going after Donald Trump. Is he being unnecessarily, unlawfully, unjustly, unduly targeted by the government? How does one actually accomplish that in Washington, D.C.?
I think what the speaker is trying to do is to shine a light on what appears to be a two-tiered system of justice, and I know that term is thrown out way more often than it should be. But shine a light on that, and hopefully try to bring some accountability to bear with it, Nate. This morning we had a conference meeting behind closed doors, and I can't and I won't speak for the speaker.
Got it.
But this was touched on a little bit, and I know that he said, look, there's a system going on here where we've got a prosecutor, meaning Attorney General Garland, is indirectly shielding the boss's son. Okay, and that And so he wants to look into that. And you take that and you mirror it with, at a time when seemingly anything and everything is getting thrown at a former president that they don't like, it just bears the question, is this really fair? The weaponized term is getting thrown out there a lot, but quite frankly, there's a real concern about that. Congress has oversight authority, but when you really peel the onion back, the enforcement capacity just isn't there for Congress to do it. That belongs to the Department of Justice, and that's frustrating to the Speaker, it's frustrating to those of us in Congress. We have to come up with other ways to try to get the attention and hold people accountable. I think what's happening here is the Speaker is exhibiting his frustration and saying, hey, look, you're putting all your attention trying to charge a former president when there's what appears to be some very egregious activity by the president's son, potentially the president himself, and you're not looking at it at all. And I think he's trying to draw attention to that.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us from Washington, D.C., and I was about to ask if the only way to make this argument is to use a juxtaposition with somebody else on the Democrat side, whether it's somebody else from the administration. Hey, you guys are going after Trump. Why aren't you going after other people? Is that the entirety of the argument? Can you make the government is being weaponized against Trump without using the Biden argument?
I think so. And the reason is we've got a number of whistleblowers stepping forward that is making the case, having independently on its own, having nothing to do with the Trump argument, and saying, look, and they're coming from the IRS. They're coming from Homeland Security, coming from the FBI, and rightfully, they're coming to Congress with information, and now they're becoming public with it. And I'll tell you, although I'm not on judiciary, as you know, I'm not on oversight. I'm still a member of Congress, and I get indirectly exposed to it. It looks like they've got some pretty compelling stories, and they're taking a risk. Why would they come forward with information like this? Because frankly, they're taking risks every time they do that. And previous whistleblowers who have done that, from the FBI, for example, they've lost their job, or they've been magically transferred to some other department somewhere, and so. The information that's starting to come out appears to be compelling. And I think what's happening in the Speaker's mind is, look, he's got to do something to hold the existing Attorney General accountable. And that means exposing it and then just taking the situation where the facts direct. And I think that's what he's attempting to do. And that's the proper role of Congress. Is to try to use oversight tools as best we can.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us from Washington, D.C. It's been said by people far smarter than I, but I have said it too, but probably mimicking others. Is there any proof, or can the government provide, can Congress provide any proof that the investigation is in any way, shape, or form motivated by someone's desire to run for election? Because others have said if Trump wasn't running for president, there would be no investigation, period. Definitely not charges about documents, nothing about nothing, because he wouldn't be running for office. Is there anything that can be provided to verify that statement?
I think that you've had a couple of things with independent counsel. You've had the Durham report that came out, which basically took all the charges against Trump and it turned into a nothing burger. There was a second special counsel, can't think of who was the head of it, but same result. And that begs the question, the amount of money, the amount of resources, time, energy, expense being put forth against someone that continues to turn into no concrete evidence, no concrete substantiation. It just begs that question, and that's where the investigations have led. It's led to nowhere each time, and so it begs the question, just what you said. Okay, if he really wasn't a running for president, would they really be doing this? I have to ask the same thing with the impeachment. Remember, Donald Trump got impeached twice from the House,
right.
Once while he was in office, once while he was out of office. Really? That's never happened in the history before. So personally, I will tell you, I believe that if he wasn't a candidate for president, this wouldn't be happening. And I think the evidence and the circumstances support that theory.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us here, and I know you got a few minutes before you got to go cast a vote here, and we really do appreciate you squeezing us in here this hour just before that. If you have to go earlier, if they call that vote, just let us know, because you're there in Washington, D.C., hopefully not just waiting around for us to call, and hopefully not just sitting around in rooms talking about Trump. Because I ask you the question, and other people ask you the question, hey, what else is going on in Washington, D.C. that we really need to know about? Versus how much does the 500-pound or 1,000-pound topic in the room overshadow everything else that everyone else is trying to get done that's not election-related? How much of your energy does this take up out of committees and out of meetings versus just casting its shadow over?
It is a fair amount, and in large part because that's where constituents are interested in. You've got the legislative activity that's going on this week is kind of dedicated to the Federal Aviation Administration, and there's a lot of stuff there to go through and a lot of things to work on and decide, and that's kind of the first thing on the agenda in terms of legislation. But then you've got these investigations going on. And I can tell you, just the traffic with our office, the traffic with other members, yes, it takes a lot of time. And personally, I met with representation from CIA, NSA, FBI today, and as just for updates on various things, communication, and I can just share with you without breaking any confidentiality, these investigations. And the weaponization issue, legitimate or not, is on the top of everybody's mind, and that's not a partisan thing. I mean, that's a bipartisan concern. Is that we have agencies within the federal government that are overstepping their bounds, and they're politically motivated to achieve certain ends, and there's a real concern about that, and how and when Congress executes its oversight it's more than just a distraction. It's a very legitimate and real time drain. And frankly, it should be. That's part of what our job is supposed to be. People are concerned about it. We're attempting to act on that.
How much of a line do you find yourself having to walk, or are you cautious of while the accusation or the concern is there that the government is weaponized against one person, that Congress doesn't do the same?
Right, and that's where I do have to draw a line, because on these investigations, for example, I am not on the first line of information. I'm on the second line, and so I get the perception, I get the secondhand feedback from the committee members, from the chairman, from the speaker. All of us do when they come out of those meetings, but I have to guard myself on what I know versus what I perceive is taking place. Before you make hard decisions on things, you've got to have concrete facts. And, I don't have all those, and I'm not the first one that's exposed to it. And so, but I definitely can tell you what perceptions are. I can definitely tell you where the concerns are and where the efforts are going. And those concerns, those efforts are in the form of trying to protect ourselves and our constituents from what appears to be agencies of government who weaponized against certain Americans in a political fashion. And that's a very real threat, and it's something we have to deal with.
Because, again, if the concern is somebody being unduly targeted, it's not Congress's job to get somebody elected.
No. And but what is Congress's job is to try to make sure that the federal bureaucracy is not weighted, that the scale is not being tilted in favor of one entity or another. And that's the fear, and I think that takes us full circle to the very first thing you brought up, which is the Speaker's concern. And I'm not speaking for him.
Right.
I believe he believes that scale is being tilted. I believe he believes that the Attorney General in particular is aggressively pursuing one end for a political purpose, but not adequately pursuing another end for that same political purpose. And that's why you see him making statements and taking the actions that he's taking.
Congressman Russ Fulcher, you got to go vote. I really do appreciate you taking the time with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance, Nate. Thank you.